Welcome to the Dharma Lens. In today's explainer, we're tackling something that is literally keeping so many of us, especially in the tech world, up at night. Yep, we're talking about AI. But look, we're not going to sit here and debate timelines or benchmark tests. Instead, we're doing a total perspective shift. We're going to take this massive, looming economic anxiety and transform it into a profound spiritual opportunity. Because the reality is, AI will replace you unless you find what it absolutely cannot touch. Let's get into it. So, if an algorithm can code, write, and analyze faster than you, what exactly is your value? I want to validate this right out of the gate. If you're feeling existential and economic fear right now, that is completely real. And it's terrifying, right? For years, our biggest worries were, economic downturns, maybe aging out of the industry. But now, the fear is this invisible algorithm that just does it all. And it forces us to confront the ultimate modern worry. If AI does my job, who am I? To figure that out, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by unpacking the productivity identity trap, dive into the Buddhist concepts of self-attachment and Anatta, map out exactly what AI can't touch, go over 3 really practical steps for reconnection, and finally, reframe AI as a teacher of impermanence. All right, section 1, the productivity identity trap. To really get to the bottom of our anxiety, we have to admit that this panic isn't just about losing a paycheck. It's about losing our very selves. I mean, think about this. If you change jobs, do you become a fundamentally different person? Of course not. But in our modern society, we've been totally conditioned to shrink an infinite, complex human life down to the size of a tiny little business card. I write code, so I'm an engineer. I analyze markets, so I'm a consultant. When those skills were scarce, we felt incredibly valuable. But when an AI can suddenly do them faster and cheaper, we just feel completely emptied out. And that brings us to a really fascinating ancient Sanskrit term, Atma-graha, which translates to self-attachment. You can think of this as a massive psychological bug in our human operating system. It's the habit of conflating our core identity with our productivity, our job titles, and our output. We are suffering so deeply right now because we've placed ourself into these highly volatile, easily replaceable functions. Look, if you place your identity entirely in your market value, the second that market shifts, you feel like you literally cease to exist. Which leads us perfectly into section 2, self-attachment and anatta, the Buddhist antidote to this modern crisis. Imagine for a second that you're standing on a floating log in a rushing river, and you're absolutely convinced it's solid ground. The second the water shifts, you panic. Well, your job, your specific tech skills, the current market trends, those are the floating log. They can carry you for a while, sure, but they are absolutely not a permanent foundation. The solid ground? That's your true, enduring awareness and your capacity for wisdom. So the key to surviving this is understanding the Pali term anatta, or no self. Now, pause here, because this is important. This is not nihilism. It definitely doesn't mean you don't exist. Actually, anatta is incredibly liberating. It's freedom from that functional self. It's the profound realization that your true value isn't permanently shackled to temporary, automatable skills. Remember that psychological bug, Atma-graha? Anatta is the software patch for it. It frees us from this totally exhausting, unwinnable race against the machines. There's a beautiful metaphor for this. The clouds change, but the sky remains. Your skills are the clouds. Your awareness is the sky. Technology, market demands, the programming languages you memorized, those are just clouds. They roll in, they roll out. But your conscious presence, your ability to learn, adapt, and care, that's the sky. AI might blow away the clouds, but there is no way it can ever destroy the sky. Moving on to section 3, what AI cannot touch. Let's map out these boundaries. There's a massive difference between 2 specific mindsets. The function-driven human is always asking, what can I do? And because of that, they live in constant fear of automation, because functions can always be reverse engineered and automated by a machine. But the awareness-driven human, they ask, why am I doing this? Who does it serve? They rely on presence, ethics, and compassion. AI can mimic a function flawlessly, but it simply cannot possess awareness. You see this dynamic playing out everywhere. AI provides answers, humans take responsibility. AI generates options, humans actually see the moral consequences of those options. AI computes probability, but we humans employ wisdom. Think about a doctor, for example. AI can crunch medical data and spit out a diagnosis way faster than any human ever could.
But AI can't look a terrified patient in the eyes, navigate their complex family dynamics, and hold their trust through a grueling treatment plan. Or take a senior engineer. AI can write an entire codebase or generate a robust legal contract overnight, but it absolutely cannot bear the ethical weight of justice or take responsibility if that software causes harm. AI gives us the mechanics, right? But humanity provides the depth.
Let's jump into Section 4, 3 Practices for Reconnection, your practical roadmap.
Here are 3 distinct, actionable steps you can use right now, today, in your daily work life to reconnect with that untouchable self. We're going to observe anxiety, reposition value, and return to altruism. Step 1 is to observe anxiety. When you scroll past a headline about AI wiping out your industry, your heart rate spikes. We've all been there. The practice here is to recognize that fear without becoming it. You just note to yourself, okay, I'm experiencing fear about my job. In that tiny, split-second gap between the event and your reaction, you create a space for awareness. You realize, wait, I am the awareness watching the fear, I'm not the fear itself. Doing this prevents panic and gives you the distance you need for actual clarity. Step 2 is reposition value. You've got to evolve from being a mechanical executor into a conscious integrator. If part of your day is purely repetitive data entry or boilerplate coding, let the AI have it. Seriously, hand it over. You need to reposition yourself to handle the purpose. You become the ethical judge of the AI's output. You become the empathetic communicator who translates that complex output to the client. Let the tools handle the workflow while you elevate yourself to handle the meaning. And step 3, return to altruism. When we're trapped in our ego, our only thought is, how do I survive? How do I protect my status? And honestly, that makes the world feel terrifying. But what happens if you shift that? What if you ask, how can I use these incredible new tools to alleviate suffering for others? How can I solve problems faster for my clients, my team, or my community? Expanding your focus outward to help others is, without a doubt, the ultimate way to break free from the paralyzing grip of self-attachment. It just totally opens your world back up. Finally, Section 5. AI teaches us impermanence. We really need to reframe this entire technological landscape. AI is essentially acting as a spiritual mirror right now. It is aggressively pointing out exactly where our egos have gotten way too rigid. It exposes our mechanical work habits, showing us exactly where we've been totally asleep on autopilot. It forces humility, demanding we adopt a beginner's mind and, ask younger colleagues to teach us how to use new tools. It shatters outdated ego identities, and most importantly, it demands continuous awakening. It simply won't let us fall asleep at the wheel again. So if you take nothing else away from this explainer, let it be this. True security isn't finding some unchanging static job. That just doesn't exist anymore. True security is flexibility. It's returning to your core, untouchable awareness, no matter how violently the market shifts around you. It's knowing that tools are going to change, absolutely, but the clear, compassionate, and responsible human mind directing those tools, that is irreplaceable. So are you willing to let AI teach you who you truly are? Because the moment you stop fighting the technology and start looking at what it reveals about your own attachments, you unlock a level of freedom and peace that no algorithm could ever compute. Thanks for hanging out with us for this explainer on the Dharma lens. Stay curious, stay grounded, and we'll catch you next time.